I'm Martin Wilkes. I'm your host for the 8-week mindfulness training course. And here's a few words about me. I'm a mindfulness teacher, and I'm a chartered practitioner psychologist specializing in mindfulness-informed psychotherapy. I was a wild youth and a wild young man. Yoga, and especially Tai Chi, brought me to anchor. And then a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat introduced me, boot camp style, to mindfulness practice as taught by the earliest Buddhist tradition. I was then, as I am now, a musician. The musician's lifestyle had suited me well as a traveller, transformed as I settled into a London lifestyle, into becoming a part-time music teacher at Brixton Prison. Some years later, following a growing interest in working with this population, I was appointed to the role of visiting Buddhist minister for both Brixton and Belmarsh prisons. Now, having qualified at that time as a counsellor, I also managed to seize an opportunity to set up the HMP Brixton Counselling Services. I worked in both roles then for 16 years, sharing mindfulness teachings from a traditional Buddhist authority to those relatively few prisoners who registered themselves as belonging to the Buddhist faith tradition. And with growing momentum to larger and larger numbers of people, sharing mindfulness with the seal of scientific approval as I offered a secularized version that I called the mind-body workout to support the many varied people passing through my counselling service. Starting a family for a second time round, I chose to embrace the challenge of becoming a breadwinner. It seemed important to professionalise myself further, and I began to walk the long path towards becoming a chartered psychologist. In the latter part of that training, I elected to attend a mindfulness training retreat at the Centre for Mindfulness, Bangor University, with John Kabat-Zinn, the teacher or researcher whose work is generally recognised to have inspired the secular mindfulness revolution. I've been teaching 8-week mindfulness courses modelled on his pioneering work, where I live in East Anglia since 2004. I also teach a 2-weekend version in London, but more often in London teach weekend workshops on acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. That's a cutting-edge mindfulness-informed behaviour change therapy, and I am a peer-reviewed ACT trainer. That's enough about me, so here's a few words about the course. Yeah, it's an 8-week course. It's a hybrid. It's based upon the original mindfulness-based stress reduction course, MBSR. It also integrates the cognitive therapy aspects of the MBCT. Now, the MBCT is an adaptation created here in the UK in the early 2000s, which is now used clinically by the NHS as a relapse prevention intervention for people who suffer with repeated episodes of depression. In 2003, MBCT was recognised as a treatment of choice for depression by the National Institute for Clinical Excellence. Back to the course, I've also integrated some ACT strategies, perspectives and processes in places where they can support and enhance the original materials. Each week on our course, new online resources will become available. There are written materials and audio and video guidance for the mindfulness meditation practices. Equally important as the weekly resources are the 7 days between their release. That's right, you're not able to rush through this course. We've stayed true to the design and intention of both the MBSR and MBCT courses, these being the courses upon which all the evidence-based research was done. That's because we want you to have an authentic experience of an 8-week experiential training. And that will require a full week to pass, during which you can give daily, or at least 6 days out of 7, attention to learning the practices offered at the beginning of the week. I use the verb learning, though the verb to cultivate is probably more helpful in describing the potential of this week of practice between the teaching sessions. We grow into mindfulness. The course is cumulative. The earlier meetings must be consolidated in order to provide firm foundation for the lessons to come. The more you put into this course, the more it will give back. The original courses suggest you invest up to 45 minutes a day in consolidating mindfulness practice. Now, this time isn't all given to formal practices. Sometimes you'll be bringing mindfulness to the daily life activities, trying out little experiments. Nonetheless, many people find 45 minutes a big ask. New adaptations of the original course keep appearing in books and online with shorter and shorter meditation periods. Now, whilst this may make the training more accessible to more very busy people, it may also lead to a shallower, less rooted outcome. On the other hand, if longer practices lead to more frequent thoughts such as, "I just don't have time for that today," then regular daily shorter practices may serve you better than sporadic, infrequent engagement with the lengthier ones. So, where possible in designing this course, we've come up with a unique, best fit solution. We have shortened the mindfulness guidance, but we often identify a pause point where you can choose, on occasions when you've more time to invest, to continue to practice according to the before the pause guidance instructions on the sound file, continuing until such time that you press the resume play button to hear the guidance out to the end of the meditation period. Another effective solution would be to consider practicing the techniques twice, once in the morning and once in the evening. Now, this brings me to emphasize the importance of weaving our practice times into our daily routine, anchoring them perhaps upon chosen daily certainties. Our first early childhood experience of this lies deeply etched in our psyche, cleaning our teeth before we go to bed and again in the morning when we get up. Dental hygiene for the majority of us isn't something that we might choose to do if we feel like it. It's more of a deeply ingrained habit, and a healthy one at that. Furthermore, teeth cleaning isn't something we suddenly remember to do when we have toothache. We do it routinely in order to prevent tooth decay. If we develop this as an analogy, then consider mindfulness practice as mental hygiene. Then it will be important to find a way to come to our practice with a similar habitual ease. Sheer willpower and determination won't always serve us well. Telling ourselves, "You should do it because you said you would," is just as likely to arouse our inner rebel who says, "Why should I?" Or the voice of the taskmaster, the driven one, who insists that you need to get on, that there are far too many more important things to do today than taking care of your mental health and well-being. So, a softer, gentler, kinder attitude towards ourselves is called for, an enduring persistence that can accommodate those inner voices of resistance, refraining from arguing with them, whilst continually reminding ourselves that we're doing this course because it matters to us, and because we and our loved ones and others in our orbit are worth it. Perfectionism is the dogged pursuit of the unachievable, and in recognition of this, whilst encouraging daily practice, the 8-week course traditionally recommends that we aim for 6 days out of 7. Now, you'll probably hear the phrase "as best you can" from time to time in the instructions. when you notice you've fallen off the path, just get back on it again, as best you can, and again, and again. Whatever brought you to considering doing the 8-week course, you've probably been impressed by the voluminous outpouring of empirical research demonstrating the effectiveness of mindfulness across an ever-widening range of challenging human conditions. Indeed, rather than think of the effectiveness of mindfulness with, say, the condition of stress, or the condition of anxiety, or the condition of chronic pain, or the working conditions, or addiction, procrastination, and so on, I have generally come to think of it more generically as helpful with the human condition. Nonetheless, specific outcome research is really helpful and continues to be reported at an ever-increasing rate. When in 1996 I began my postgraduate research into the effectiveness of mindfulness as a mental health and well-being treatment, my literature research, going back 10 years, revealed 6 previously published papers on this and related topics. 20 years on, in July 2016, the American Mindfulness Research Monthly Journal reported 43 publications for the previous month. But perhaps the most important research is that which you could do for yourself. We're making available 2 simple tick-box psychometric measures that are commonly used in mindfulness research. And we suggest you complete these at the beginning, before engaging with session 1, at the midpoint, that's at the end of session 4, and lastly on completion of the course. These will become authoritative, qualitative measures for you to reflect upon. And if you choose to share your comparison scores anonymously with us, then we can all be involved as participant researchers in generating more outcome research towards helping the continuing development of this powerful yet gentle, sustainable self-help approach to health and well-being. So, check in with those preliminary materials, included in which are the psychometric measures, and I'll look forward to joining you again for session 1. Bye.